I want to pray specifically for the government, the people that are entering office, even if they've already been in there before, the people that are entering office, that there be a new mindset that for every single one that comes into office today, over the next several months as they're being sworn in, that even before they start to be sworn in, they decide to do something different, that we decide to really make a difference and not have a lot of infighting, but really get to some solutions, get programs started, bring business back to the United States, to get jobs so that we can have everybody can work and feed their family, and that we have solutions, that we have healing requires, it would be the same as if people that are at an operating table and the nurse and the doctor don't get along, then that the patient is what's going to suffer. So we want there to be a coming together for the greater good of the people. And so we want that in every single system. We are going to be praying that from the White House all the way down to the state governments, to the county governments, to the city governments, that people be very God conscious. And when I say that, that takes preeminence over whose party it is. It takes preeminence over if you like the person or you don't like the person. You know how you will discuss something because it's for the good of the child or the good of the person that you're responsible for or the person that you're covering. It's for the good of them. You will put your personal, which we've seen a lot of really great people do that in the country. And they were, just real quick, they were talking about John McCain and George Biden, how they are able to get along. But there's a level of honor that a statesman should have on either side. There should be the way that you carry yourself either way. Whether you agree or disagree, there just should be some formality to how peaceful transfers of power and how we function in this country. We are everything happening is being viewed globally, but in order for people to like you and trust you, whether they agree with you or not, there's a level of respect as how we conduct business and how we conduct our government. So we want to be go that extra mile on every single thing, so that we regain our which was rightfully earned in a lot of situations. We regain our trustworthiness, we regain our reputation, and we regain our ability to be trusted, and we become wise stewards of what God has given us. And like what Lori was saying was true, God is not American. The earth belongs to him. He doesn't belong to it. We belong to him. So this same examples that if we're able to establish, that they be duplicated, not because they're American examples, but human right examples, human decency should be everywhere. It should be accessible everywhere. Now switching gears, good decisions and good laws are created by good spiritual foundation. So where you have, even in the Bible, where you have all the evil behavior, they did terrible, sacrificing people, doing all kind of crazy stuff. It was a demonic spirit influencing the laws being made. So that's why we're praying for the soul of America. We're praying for God consciousness, Jesus Christ, God consciousness. We have a lot of huge Jewish population in this country that they're still God conscious. Of course they're God conscious. We came out of that situation, out of the Old Testament, but God conscious means that there's a level where God comes first. The things we're thinking and doing and operating in a way that we can stay in a blessed territory and stay in a way of being blessed. So that's what we want to be able to do. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. That goes for an individual, but it can also go for an entire country. A country can say, let the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight. And from that, you create whatever we're putting in place, we create that. So this is what I'm praying. As the governments come together, that they be sober-minded, They be deeply rooted in wisdom. That we root out whatever is not like you. Now, everything can't be done at once, but that we're rooting out whatever is not like God. We are not going to, I'm just going to say it. We're not going to get blessed if we keep promoting killing children. We're not going to be blessed because it is murder. So we have to come against that. It may not change overnight, but we have to seriously start educating what's going to happen. Let me go a little deeper on that topic, because babies don't abort themselves. So this shows you where I'm just going to tie right back to school, tie right back to God consciousness, tie right back to home environment, tie right back to everything. So since babies don't, we're going to talking about abortion real quick. So the babies don't abort themselves, and it's the mom and it's the mother ultimately, but it's the mother and father that are impacted. Then we have to go to the consciousness before they enter into that physical situation. Before that, how about abstinence? Nothing wrong with it. But how about that? Okay, then the other part of it is, in order for me to value myself enough to abstain, see how the woman has to do that, and the man as well. In order for me to value myself enough to abstain, their God consciousness has to be there. Because if I don't feel like I'm worthy, then it gets down to the decision before you get to the point where we have children being conceived that are not wanted. So before that, who am I? What are those? These are the things that we have to talk about way before they get kids, people, adults get to the age where they just say, "Oh, I made a mistake. Okay, I'm going to go." And if you put the word on there, murder, put the word on there, then we start thinking differently about it, because it shouldn't be that comfortable and that convenient. But this is just one thing. But do you see how it's not about getting to that, when you get to the point where you're driving up to the clinic, way back before that process even starts, before they even get into a physical relation situation. Before all of that, that's where we have to start. That is how you're going to stop it. You have to reach the children before they even get to that point, and adults before they get to that point. What does that all fall back? It falls back on the word. It falls back on, and we're not trying to talk about religion, but it falls back on God consciousness. And then out of that, the decisions are made versus being desperate and, I didn't mean to do this. And so, okay, then because we're equating murder with a slight decision that people are making because something was inconvenient. Something was inconvenient. So that's where I'm saying dig into the laws a little bit, not just the legal part. How did we get to that? How is that okay? Then we have to go back and start talking about that part of it, all the way back to the origin of how it got. And it's necessary because we want to be blessed. We got to go back and build it out. So that's just one piece. Let me go back to what we were talking about. Root out what is not like God. So we have to address it, we have to talk about it, and we have to come right into the can't be afraid to say this is not, because see, when people are making laws, you make laws based on beliefs and based on your heart. You make dark hearts make dark laws. Dark heart. If you have no concern about human rights, you'll make laws that completely obliterate or override human rights. If you have a God consciousness about that, a God consciousness about human condition, you'll make laws that consider human condition. So that's what we want to do. That we want to talk about removing ego from when they come to the table. This is all across the board. Removing ego and divisiveness. And that's on both sides, the Democratic side and the Republican side. Removing, hold on, let me see what that noise is. We're not trying to pick either side. We're picking the Lord's side. We're picking the Lord's side. So in the process of doing that, whoever is let me make sure I'm getting that person. Whoever is most like God in that regard, and it can be whichever side it is, whoever. And so we want to make sure we're not playing favorites. We're not saying overlooking everything. If we see it on either side, we have to call it, and that's really a big deal. If you see the Democrats acting unfairly and acting out of point, you have to call them just like you called everybody else, so that we keep this everything above board and we keep it transparent. Both sides need to move towards God consciousness. So just because the Democrats are in place, don't give them a free pass. Hold their feet to the fire, and we need to have some stuff happening. So we need things to be done. We're not closing the door. I don't think that point will ever happen again, where we're closing the door and just blindly handing over the keys and letting people run the government. It's your job to pay attention. It's your job to ask questions. It's your job to stay in the midst of the situation until it gets correct. Somebody has to be on the wall. That's what that means. So we need our leadership to know we're paying attention to what they're doing. And if it's something that is, and you take the time to ask questions, read, ask questions, look on YouTube. If something's affecting your land, your area, your community, your state, you need to ask questions. You need to know what's going on, and it's your business to get involved. It is the body of Christ. If you want laws to reflect the will of God in terms of, I'm not talking about church, but to reflect the standard and the standards that have been put in this wonderful word. This wonderful word will build very strong communities. And you don't even have to be religious about it, but it will build strong communities. Education, health, all this, it's in here. So if it will build that, then that's part of our job, is to make sure that it gets done, to push for the wholesome foundations that God has already given us. Okay, so the other part is to remove ego and decisiveness. We're asking that the cabinets and the staffing be filled with wise people, not opportunists, but people that really want to make a difference, that are coming into government and coming into different levels in positions, trickling all the way down to really make a difference, not make a name for themselves, but to really, really make a difference. They're loving people, and they're loving the things that are best for people. Okay, hold on, let me make sure that these things, that meaningful agendas are put in place, that we're not having just ambition by itself is not going to help anybody. I just want to be the this, or I just want to be the that. No, you need to just be a person that can make a difference. If they can't, then that they not be there. But the people that can we want people that are there to serve, not using it as a stepping stone for something else. So that's important. Meaningful agendas to be set, and the body of Christ to get and stay involved. Okay, so now the next part is, it seems like a small thing, but if we are not God conscious, we will be right back where we were, worse. Because I'm going to say it like this: we got to reset. I'm not saying it's all correct. We have a reset. We have an opportunity while things got loosened up to actually go get in there and make a difference, and that's what we have to do. Now, how does that apply to you individually? Everybody on the line, we have to step up. You have to pray, like they said, vote like your life depended on it. Pray like your life depended on it, like your children's life depends on it. The borders. One of the ways that the Lord blessed and defined a blessing to Solomon is that he set peace on his borders. He made his enemies to be at peace with him, and he was able to have meaningful dialogue and transfer and commerce with his neighboring kingdoms. Likewise, with his neighboring kingdoms, he was also able to. His people were well educated. Solomon wrote Proverbs, but his staff, his people, his communities, they were well educated. To this very day, Jewish business is still some of the top businesses in the world because of the blessing of Abraham is still on them. We have access to that blessing, and so we want to use that. We want to be lenders and not borrowers. Speaking of which, I'm going to be talking to different ones because I want you to start going to the next level. Now, when we say going to the next level, what we really mean is stepping to the side, letting the Spirit of God come through. Not, not how. Okay, not how you're interpreting it, but God Himself and how He's coming through. So we've all had enough learned teaching, enough information to know how to allow God to come through. When you come to meetings, when you go into whatever it is you're doing, that you come in as your person, yes, but who's in there with you and who should have full operation is the presence of the Lord, should be able to speak and hear and communicate. You're going to get a whole lot more done if you let God go into those situations with you. He'll start opening doors. God will open doors, and you and the Lord walk through the door. You don't walk through by yourself like, Lord, thank you for the door, and then kick them to the curb. But you and the Lord walk through the door. He might be preparing you for something you haven't even glimpsed in your mind or haven't thought about it. Each one of you go out day to day, or you're home, but you're involved with a situation. Ask yourself, Lord, what is it you're going to have me to do? And then you're going to you really take it very seriously. Even if you are the one that stands on the wall and stands on the wall and pray, then you will be praying in earnest, praying for really pushing that thing back, praying for really these things to change, because they actually will. Prayer can go back into school. However it got out, I do not know, but it can go back. You can start shaving down. I'm thinking they're going to stop abortion tomorrow, but for the quicker we start working on it, that's one more baby that gets to live. Really, that's how serious it is. And for the women and the men that come in situations that get caught up in the wrong situation, that again, healing. See, this is a big deal because we have loosened our communication and our standards on just the standards on how men and women come together. We have loosened that communication, that ability. So now we have a whole lot of fallout. So we got to put this thing back in the box. Everything that's got to be put back as best we can, and I believe God can heal that. Again, God consciousness starts with that personal relationship. It starts with that one-on-one witness about what God is doing. And it doesn't mean everybody that you talk to and that you come in contact with is going to get it right, but just think about it. If we function in the blessing of God, we bring businesses, we bring jobs back into the country, people can work. You'll have reduced needed assistance for social services. You will have this thing. That's one thing. If we bring God consciousness back into the country, people will start praying on their own. They'll start being, instead of just all this other stuff, they'll start thinking. They'll be realizing that I can actually have a relationship with God. He's real. It's not just the churchy stuff. And they'll start thinking, I can have a relationship with God, and they'll start functioning. Over time, they'll start getting involved and start thinking about it. God becomes the head of the household. Husbands and wives, men and women come together and actually go into covenant. Husbands and wives actually stay married. Children getting raised in a house. So just think of what can happen if we start applying these principles to the day-to-day life. Half the extra stuff we need, we would not have to have. So just think about the healing individuals, healing of families, healing of people, healing of minds, healing all coming together. So systems will heal, educational systems, medical systems will start coming together and making sense. So when we're praying for leadership, we're saying, Lord, it's not a quick fix, and you're aware, but we have to pray those prayers. And you might see a 1 inch move or one little milli-inch, micro dot move, but it will still start moving. You still keep the water hose of prayer on it, and you stay involved. So you pray and you take an action. You pray and you watch and pray, but you don't watch and pray and say, it's not for me to get involved. Why? If it's not, why did the Lord talk about the Good Samaritan? He wasn't nowhere associated with the injured man, but yet he crossed the street took an action, got involved, and he was blessed. And all the little religious ones didn't. They walked across the street. They didn't want to see it. That it was that kind of thing. But the one that got blessed was the one that actually stepped up. So be that step up, and we're going to start the step up part of the demonstration. We're going to do it on the prayer line. So when I'm saying that, you hear me calling different ones to pray. To get in, there is an anointing. Everybody has the capacity to be highly anointed, to be highly motivated by what God is doing. And it's not about ego. So it doesn't matter. You can go to school or not go to school. The things that when God wants you to know something, He'll teach you, and you will study. You study by this word. You can study all kinds of ways, but figure out how to know what it is He's going to have you doing, and be all about doing it with your whole heart, with your whole heart. So here we're talking about, we're getting ready to read a proclamation on the land. The reason I'm so serious about this is because I don't definitely, and I'll be like, all over that too. I definitely do not want to see Democrats get in there and start cutting up and acting just as silly as what we just saw. No, don't even think about it on either side. We have to get this really, really together. The people can't suffer because other people at the top can't come together and get something done. So we have to hold everybody accountable. That's part of our job. So we're going to read the scriptures on the Lord blessing the land, and then our part is to stay involved. Now, Gloria has a prayer list. We're going to add to that prayer list the governments, the Senate. Gloria, maybe I already told you this. I don't know if I did or not. The Senate, the House of Representatives, the White House, and its cabinet. The Senate, the House of I'm sorry. Let me go back. The Senate, the House of Representatives, Supreme Court, the White House, and its cabinet. And we're going to stay involved in terms of paying attention, not just by the news bites, but paying attention to what's actually going on. And I'm really confident. I've heard so many really good speeches and discussions and interviews with different ones that are going to be, because we have a lot of experienced people that can come together, that now that we have people communicating, that will be communicating with the president, and advisors will be able to speak to President Biden, President-elect Biden, but he's pulling together, counsel. You got to get counsel. You got to ask people that know. We can't know it all. Nobody knows it all. So you get people around you that know what they're talking about and that can make it happen. So leadership, getting good people all the way through all the different channels is very important. And so we're going to be praying those prayers. That's going to be added to the prayer list. We have to add them to the prayer list. So right now we're going to read the Healing the Land. This is a season of proclamation. So we're going to, proclamation is like not where you go do and go say, but where you tell somebody to do something and then you do something. So your part is to pray. Your part is whatever your ministry or whatever you're called to do, and then bump it up. Make sure you can be held accountable. So not just, I wish that they would do that. Nope, it's not them doing that. You have to do something. We cannot be all individually functioning like individuals. We have to function like, I am my neighbor's, my brother's keeper. I do need to help you or know what's going on, or how systems don't work. You don't just fluff it off. You find out why and you fix it. You get involved. That's what democracy is, an interactive sport. You got to get involved. So first thing, what we're going to do today in a season of proclamation, we're going to read this word, and then even tomorrow, as part of it on the prayer line, I'm going to start calling those that I usually don't call. This prayer line is not spectator sport either. Now, another thing, if you guys are praying, make sure, I'm going to call individual ones. Make sure that you are consistent in all make sure you're consistent in all that you're doing. that God is you're being consistent and you're showing up. That's just a part of it. I'll talk about that possibly tomorrow.